Let's start with the petal of trust. We've already covered trust in a previous module looking at the concept of the trust equation. Let's take a deeper look at how trust relates not just to whether we have it or we don't, but to the qualities that enable relationships that are well to do even better. Before, we looked at trustworthiness as being a formula, what's called the trust equation. That trust equals credibility plus reliability plus intimacy divided by self-orientation. That formula makes up whether or not we trust a person, whether or not we are trustworthy ourselves. And when we look at how to build trust within our relationships, Brené Brown describes trust in this way. She says, trust is a product of vulnerability that grows over time and requires work, attention, and full engagement. I cross out her statement and I add in instead the word effort, where we can begin to see relationships as work or hard work, or we can think of it as effort. And I know that for me, when I shift the perspective of thinking of relationships not as hard work, but relationships as things that require effort, it definitely shifts my willingness and my desire to engage in them. So this concept that trust is a product of vulnerability that grows over time is a really interesting way of thinking about those flourishing relationships. It's not either I trust you or I don't. It's that trust takes time to build, and more time to build, and more time to build. And it's the way in which we build it over time that we experience more of it. It's not something you have or you don't. And it requires vulnerability. So in order for me to learn to trust you, I have to learn to be vulnerable, to possibly be disappointed by you or to be let down by you in order to show me that I can or can't trust you. So trust is a product of vulnerability that grows over time, requires effort, attention, and full engagement. And according to Brené Brown, we should share with people who have earned the right to hear our stories. So trust is something that we want to give and receive. But it's not trust everyone openly. That's not what vulnerability is about, nor is it never letting anyone in. That part of this process of creating high quality connections over time and utilizing trust is allowing ourselves to build it little by little by little by little, but also knowing when it's appropriate to put up boundaries and to share with the people who have earned the right to hear our story. So being patient with the process of trust as it relates to our connections. Some questions for you to consider. What do you see as the relationship between trust and vulnerability? And how have you recovered trust in a relationship when it's been tarnished?